Here is your comprehensive guide to setting up a travels and tours company in Nigeria. Welcome to this video. I'll be sharing the steps to registering and setting up a travels and tours company in Nigeria. Would cover the naming rules that you should follow, shareholding, how to allocate shares, directors, employees, how to handle employees, shareholders, and what are the criteria for all this. This is a video that you want to pay attention to and watch from beginning to the end. So first of all, let us talk about share capital. So usually when you want to set up a company in Nigeria, for your company to be licensed duly to do business in Nigeria, it has to be registered with a requisite agency in Nigeria, and that's the Corporate Affairs Commission. The Corporate Affairs Commission regulates all business organizations in Nigeria. Now, when you set up a company will usually have a share capital, especially for a company that is going into the business for profit. And there are different share capital requirements. But in this case, for a travels and tours company, when you are setting up the company, it has to be registered with a minimum of 30 million naira share capital. Does that mean that you must have 30 million naira as capital for you to start your business? No. You can have lesser amount or more than that to start your business. But when you are setting up the company and registering with the CAC, you're setting it up with a 30 minimum of 30 million naira share capital, which you can then decide to share amongst the shareholders. Now, one thing you have to know about shares is that shares is property. So when you set up a company from the beginning and either as a promoter or as a co-founder or a co-shareholder, you have allocated shares to other people, you have to know that it's not something you can take back. All right. So I've had instances of people asking me, "Oh, I actually set up this company, and this person, we gave him or her some shares, but want to take it back." It's not possible. It's like you selling land to someone and then you want to take it back. All right. So you have to really put that into consideration. Now, another thing that you have to pay attention to is that shareholders could loosely be called the owners of the company because they provide the capital for doing the business. And the directors could loosely be called the brain of the company because they carry out, they take decisions on behalf of the company, they sign contracts on behalf of the company. All right, so it's very important to state that. Now, when we have instances where people set up a company and then they have employees, maybe it's just a small startup, and then they have people who work in the business, and as a bonus, apart from earning fees, they are given shares. Now, we've had instances where people will set up a company together and then the shares have already been allocated to the other co-founders, and a few years down the line they decide to leave the company. And like I said, shares is property, so you can't really collect back those shares. So what do you do in these instances? Because we have cases where people feel they feel used because they've given these shares out. The founders have given these shares out, but this people didn't wait enough time to really work for the shares they were given. So you can do a share vesting agreement where you don't give all the shares at once. Let me give you an example. So, if, for instance, you're giving an employee in your company 500,000 shares, okay, you can decide to vest it for a period of 5 years, and then at the end of each year, the person gets 100,000 shares. The second year, the person gets 100,000. That's making 200. The third year, the fourth year, like that. So, the person at the end of the first 1 year decides to leave, they only get what you had expressly agreed. All right. So this is one thing that you can also pay very close attention to. Now, when you're choosing directors for a company, and this cuts across different kind of companies, you want to be sure that they're actually bringing something to the table. Are they competent? Are they going to be available for the business? Because I mean, just like I said, the directors are like the brain of the company. They take decisions on behalf of the company. If they're not available, if they are competent but they're not available, it still all goes to no use because I mean then they are not really doing so much for the company. So you want to ensure that you're choosing people not based on sentiment, but based on what they are actually bringing to the company. All right, that's very important. So that is that about share capital, about directors, about shareholders. Now, when you're setting up a company in Nigeria, you follow the procedure for setting up a company, which usually starts by you reserving a name. And I have to state that until you've applied for a name and the Corporate Affairs Commission has granted you that name, you really cannot be sure that the name of the company is yours yet. And that's why we usually advise that once you've decided on a business, that you want to do a business, go ahead and set it up so that that name you can be sure that it's yours, and then you can do business with it as a business organization. Now, when the name is reserved, there are many other details that you will need to set up the company. You will need all the details of the directors and the shareholders. Now, let me state that a company can have one director and one shareholder, and it can have more than that, all right? But the minimum is one director, one shareholder. Can one person, if it is a one person, if it is the business is based up by one person, can that one person be the director and the shareholder? Yes, it's possible. All right. I usually advise when you're starting a business that you don't just bring in people for the sake of just bringing in many people. You've got to be sure of what exactly they are bringing to the table. All right. So you can have one director, you can have one shareholder, you can have as many, of course, as you want, as long as they're less than 100, okay? But you want to be sure that they are bringing something to the table. If they're going to be a shareholder, what exactly are they contributing? Are they contributing money, expertise? Are they contributing network? There's a lot that you can contribute as capital to the business that is just beyond money. You can contribute infrastructure. That's very, very important. Now, when you set up the company, the naming, you need the names of the directors, name of the shareholders, their IDs, all their details, their addresses, email, phone number, the details of the company, the office of the company. You need to have an office in Nigeria, all right? So you need an office address for the company, the email address of the company, the phone number of the company, all the details of the company. Now, another important part is the articles and of association and the memorandum of association. And these two documents could be called the constitution of the new company. So it's important that you get legal help when you're drafting that part of setting up your company, because it's going to be binding on your business subsequently. All right. Now, when you fill in all the details and you apply to the Corporate Affairs Commission, if there are any issues, it might be queried or it might be granted immediately. All right. But that is pretty much the stage to the step to setting up a travels and tours company in Nigeria. Now, beyond setting it up and registering with the CAC, it's also important that you register with the necessary regulatory bodies. And in this case, for travel agencies, we have the IATA, that is a regulatory agency and it's an international body. So you also want to register with them. Now, when you register your company, you want to ensure that beyond just setting up the company, you know what are all the legal aspects, what are the regulatory requirements that you will need for that business, what are the legal aspects. For instance, when we set up companies for people, we also, for individuals and for other people come together to set it up, group of individuals, we also let them know the other legal aspects that they need to pay attention to. For instance, their obligations to the CAC after registration, how to set up their contracts with their employees and with different people they will be doing business with to protect their interests, and every other thing that they need to know. So it's very important, because for doing the legal structure of your business just goes beyond just registering with the CAC. There's a trademark aspect too. There's an intellectual property. All right. So these are very important things that you want to pay very close attention to. I hope this has been helpful. If you have any questions, feel free to type them in the comment section and I'll be glad to answer them. And feel free to check my channel for more videos like this. Thank you.